Joining me now is Charles Kupchan, Senior Fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations and Professor of International Affairs at Georgetown. Thank you for being here, sir. So what do you mean by that, and how do you see kind of the balance of power as it plays out right now?
Well, I think China is kind of divided in its own mind about the conflict. On the one hand, the United States is again mired in a Middle East war. It's distracted from its so-called pivot to the Indo-Pacific. This is a war that's unpopular in the United States and among American allies, so it's kind of fracturing NATO and the Western community of democracies. That's all good for China. On the other hand, China imports about 70% of its oil, around 14%, as your correspondent just said, comes from Iran. This is a war that's disrupting the global economy. Everything else being equal, China wants this war to end and wants the price of oil to go back down. So I think right now they're calling for restraint. They're calling for calm. They want to see this truce last. I think on the arms issue that you just mentioned, Leslie, Trump is simply trying to head off at the pass any consideration in Beijing of sending weapons to Iran.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they kind of reached that pressure point. What do you think the notion of 50% tariffs would do, from the perspective of the Chinese? Do you think it would enlist them to put more pressure on the Iranians to come up with some sort of agreement with the U.S., or do you think it ratchets things higher from here?
Well, I think it is a bit of an idle threat in the sense that Trump still does plan to go to Beijing sometime soon, even if that trip is postpone again. I think he wants some kind of trade deal with the Chinese. A 50% tariff on Chinese goods would have a very significant impact upon the global economy, ramp up even further prices here, consumer prices here in the United States. So I don't think we're gonna go there. But yeah, the Chinese, at least as far as we know, did play an important role in convincing Iran to say yes to this ceasefire. Now, hopefully, they can play an important role in closing the gap between Iran and the United States on the terms of a durable settlement. Because at least judging by where we were when those 20-hour talks in Pakistan came to an end, Iran and the United States are still miles apart.
And can you help us better understand just the relationship between Iran and China? Obviously, China, a big importer of Iranian oil. But beyond that, what does their diplomatic relationship look like at this point in time?
In some ways, China is Iran's diplomatic and economic lifeline. The Iranians have been selling a lot of oil to China. They have very good relations with China. They are part of what we call the axis of autocracies that emerged after the Russians went into Ukraine: Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Iran is now in trouble, and neither Russia nor China is really able to step in to help them. And in some ways, I think you're seeing the limits of Russian and Chinese power because Iran is more or less on its own. But I do think that everything else being equal, the Chinese want this war to come to an end, but they're going to keep their powder dry. They're going to keep their distance from this war, as they've done with other conflicts, because they're more interested in trade. They're mercantilist power. They're not out there trying to solve big geopolitical problems.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're not stepping in because they can't or because they don't want to and don't see it as being the most economically viable solution for them. Obviously, Russia is fighting its own war with Ukraine. I can imagine it wouldn't want to get involved in another war that further distances that country from the rest of the world as well.
Well, I think, Leslie, that your comment begs the question of what's the operational theory of the case here. How is this blockade going to work? We don't yet know. I'm guessing that the U.S. Navy is going to wait outside the Strait of Hormuz and inspect ships, board ships, try to block ships that are coming from Iranian ports. Nobody really wants to send tankers or warships into the Strait of Hormuz now because it's too dangerous, because the Iranians could hit them as they have done in the past. So I think in some ways the $6 million question today is, how is Iran going to respond? Will they let this blockade take effect? Will they let Trump shut down Iranian shipping? Or are they going to start taking shots at tankers and U.S. warships that are implementing the blockade? If so, I think we're going to see that full-scale war break out very soon.
Yeah.